Dear noble ones, something happened. I was just browsing through the internet the other day, and then I read about this mum in the UK who was arrested because she used vocabulary that wasn't nice. Now, given a lot of the times when I read this, my first emotional response is to be like, that's insane. What on earth are they doing in the UK? But then when I look into this, oftentimes it's not real, or they didn't give me the full picture. And after they do, then I'm like, okay, but this is different. So you have to understand this. It doesn't matter if you agree because politically you're similar to me, maybe you lean right, but the truth is important. And so sometimes people use that against us. And other times instead, it's absolutely true. It is happening, and at that point is despicable, because if you are pro-free speech at this point, regardless of your political leanings, any time when something like this would be absolutely a abuse of power and an overreach from any government in the Western free world. The one from today is being now covered by Piers Morgan Uncensored. So I'm interested because there is going to be several guests. There's probably going to be guests that have opposing opinions. And generally speaking, I don't always agree with Piers. Sometimes it's whatever. But it doesn't matter, because if the entire Piers Morgan Uncensored decided to cover this, it means they probably looked into this beforehand. So I'm more inclined to believe that the information is real. So without further ado, let's see what we can learn.
11 police officers turned up.
Yeah.
They basically said you had committed a hate crime by using that F word in a private text message.
I was in also shock.
If the state can pry on our private conversations, that really does take us into Orwellian territory.
You don't have a free nation there. Who cares if she was like, you know what, I am homophobic, and I said it because I'm homophobic. That's her business, right? You can say what you want.
Something can be a homophobic slur, even if a person doesn't realize that that's what they're doing.
Andrew, would you use that word?
Sure, you use it all the time. It's one of the best ways to describe friends, right?
Any minute now, we are going to see the annual controversy about the Pogues' great song, Fairy Tale of New York, which has the famous lyric, you scumbag, you maggot, you cheap lousy.
The Oxford English Dictionary has just named rage bait as its word of the year. They define it as content deliberately designed to elicit outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive. I thought it was only appropriate to mention that story given the hullabaloo over my polite reticence to use the F word. And no, as you're probably well aware, it's not that F word.
Would you say the word faggot on camera?
No.
Why?
Because
You don't want to get arrested, do you?
doesn't want to be arrested.
Because it's so harmful to people?
No.
Is it like gay bashing? What's wrong with that?
No, actually, my whole issue with the whole trans debate, for example, is you don't need to slide into actually saying derogatory stuff about trans people to make the point that women's rights should be protected.
Correct.
You don't need to.
Well, I agree.
So what? I don't believe.
No, but it's a magic word.
I don't believe in needlessly sneering.
Well, I'm not smearing anybody. I just think.
But why would you use that word?
Faggot?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah, but would you
faggot,
use
faggot,
it?
faggot.
Okay, but why?
And I'm using it because you're not allowed to, because you're...
I'm allowed to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to.
Say, I love gay people. Faggot.
I'm allowed to.
Oh,
I just choose not to.
that is so funny, actually. Yeah, but they are. Make no mistake, guys. You give them one, they'll take away 1,000 words, one at a time, until we get to a point that the entirety of your speech is controlled and chained. 100% they're going to do it.
Well, we'll talk about the F word again shortly with my panel who are standing by, but Tucker Carlson's claim that I could be arrested for saying it was based on a real story he'd read in the Daily Mail.
Okay.
A nursing home worker had been arrested and convicted, he said, for using that word in text messages about a man she claims had assaulted her. As I said in the interview, it sounded utterly ridiculous. Ladies, in a string of examples of an assault on free speech in the UK.
Right.
But I hadn't actually read the story, and I said I'd look into it afterwards.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. And
Okay.
I'm pleased to say that Elizabeth Kinney, the mother of 4 who was convicted over her text messages, joins me in the studio now. Elizabeth, thank you for coming in. And
Before we jump into the interview, I'm very interested, but do keep in mind that the people that want to enact these kind of laws whereby you can't use the F word, I hate it, and now it's double F word. You got to call one the FA word. Come on, man. The F word and the FA word, oh gosh, it's ridiculous. You can't use these words. You can't use the N word. You can't use the other word. You can't say, you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to say this way. You can't say minority. You have to say equity deserving group. You can't say foreigner. You have to say international people. Like, they never have a problem with words like fascist, this conservative is a Nazi, bigot. They never have a problem with those, do they? It is always one-sided. Like, we choose the words that offend. Disgusting.
Joining us today for this debate. Just first of all, just to clear up exactly what happened.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Explain to me and the viewers what went down.
What went down?
I was assaulted by a male acquaintance, and
Physically or sexually?
physically.
Physically.
Okay.
It wasn't my ex-partner. It was a friend, like a group of friends. The female acquaintance that basically, she basically was getting jealous over me because she started seeing my ex-partner. So she was trying to cause trouble for me, which ended up resulting in me getting attacked. After that, obviously, I went to the hospital and I sent her messages and pictures of my injuries, just to prove like what she'd caused. And obviously, I was very upset at the time.
Obviously, yeah.
I'd had a like inflammation on my brain. I had a skull fracture,
A skull fracture? How did she get arrested for a word?
which made me not really feel like myself at the time. I was very upset and I was very angry with what had happened to me, which made me like say messages that I really wouldn't have said.
So you sent her a load of messages. I mean, would you categorize them as abusive, highly abusive?
It was more just to pointing to the fact that what had happened to me. I only just sent her pictures of my injuries, and obviously said like, why would you cause this much trouble for me and stuff, and make up lies, and like which now resulted in me being attacked.
Yeah.
And she then reported you
Yeah.
She reported her.
for what she said were harassing messages.
Yeah, it was a 5 minute period of time when I just,
How did you feel when the police contacted you?
well, I was shocked.
Of course.
I didn't expect that. I mean,
Because these are private text messages.
throughout my life, I've had messages with my friends and we've fallen out and we've said things that aren't very nice to each other,
Yeah.
but you would never really expect that to go any further than that.
I've heard 11 police officers turned up.
Yeah.
An unarmed, injured woman, you need 11 police officers in the UK. But then the guy, what happened to the guy who hurt her? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd left my front door open. I was waiting for my dad to come to the house. I was actually in the bath.
And 11
they
police
opened the door themselves
and just came in.
and came in.
And you're in the bath.
Oh my gosh.
And what do they say to you?
Well, I heard my name, which was one female out of the lot of them.
And 10 male officers.
Yeah. And then I heard my name and I thought, oh, it might be my sister because it didn't sound like someone who was, because obviously I was upstairs in the bath. And then they just come up the stairs and they didn't give me any privacy or anything.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Disgusted
Yeah.
and really upset. I was crying my eyes out.
And what did they say to you? What did they say they
Yeah,
were
what
there
did they say?
Well, I was just asking them, can they just leave the female officer and can they please go downstairs?
Of course.
Obviously, I was upset and I had no clothes on, and they kind of wanted to watch me get changed, and I was very upset about that. In the end, they did send the males down the stairs, and the female officer sat with me. I was crying my eyes out. I was really upset, and then I said, "Well, what are you even here for?" Because I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was in utter shock, and she said, "For malicious communications."
For malicious communication to a woman whose skull was cracked?
Hate crime and malicious.
No, wait.
For malicious communications, hate crime and malicious communications, and I said, "Well, what for?" And she's obviously they said we'll discuss that when we get to the
Station.
basically to the police
So
station.
you go to the station and then they outline that it's these messages you sent to this
Yeah.
friend that you've had this argument with, all connected to the fact that you yourself, as you say, have been assaulted. I'm not going to get into that so much as one of the more inflammatory things about this whole story, which Tucker Carlson picked up on, was in the course of these text messages, you use the F word. We've already said what that word is. He repeated it many times. I choose not to say it. You can do what you like. But that word, did you intend it in the messages to be a derogatory, homophobic slur?
Absolutely
Because
not.
that is the alleged crime. Is
Okay, let me just say this. Even if she did, now she's going to say no. Obviously, she has to. She's scared. But even if she did, no nation should make it into a criminal offense to use this word against gay people and arrest you for it, while at the same time excusing every single racial slur used against white people on the basis of their race. Now, that's pushed at university in the UK. You get taught that. You pay money so that the children and the students are indoctrinated to self-loathe. But this gets you a crime? It's either you treat everything like this, or you cannot say anything against anyone. You can't even just don't be naughty. Don't use naughty words, or we'll crack down with the police. You either do this for everything, against white, against black. There are people that make TikToks saying that white people should be exterminated. They get nothing. So you either make it into a continuous law, you implement these nonsensical hate speech that have no legal basis, but let's say you produce a legal basis for it. And you say, no hate, nothing. You can't say, and you can't say stupid, or we'll send you to 10 years in prison if you say stupid. I would never live in that society, but whatever. At least it wouldn't be double standards. Even things against straight people, when they call us breeders, 5 years in jail. You went against straight people. About Christianophobia, since they're all about Islamophobia. Right, Christianophobia. Splits. You know how many people would end up in jail if you would do the same as you're trying to do with Islam, but for Christianity? So now you can't say, first person says Sky Daddy, throw away the key. So you do that. So now you have a society that is completely blocked and prevented. No one says anything bad. No one says any text because they're all afraid of going to prison. Or you implement the constitutional protected rights like the First Amendment in the United States and only have the exceptions such as when the speech is not protected because it's a direct threat to violence. I want to live in the latter, but at least a former society would be consistent in its evil and control. Not this. This is like the worst possible.
That you were promoting hate towards gay people by using that word.
First of all, a lot of my friends are gay.
And of course, all the imbeciles on the woke left are going to say, she did this. It's like when you say, I've got black friends. Racists say that. That's typical racist. So they're going to use that against her. You can't say anything. Once they have targeted you, it doesn't matter at this point. Just drop it. Don't even say it. It's useless.
I am not homophobic in any way, shape or form.
Which I believe, by the way.
Word
I believe her.
in question is a word that in our town where we live, we associate that word with somebody who, well, mainly males who hit females. Like,
Okay.
It's never a word for a sexuality. It's always a word where we live in our context.
I believe it.
As in, like, basically a weak person. For instance, my brother's best friend got sent off the pitch in football last week because one of the guys fell over and, you know, he called him that name, but it was just a joke. But he got sent off the pitch because, but in our context, like, it just means like.
And you
you're
got a
weak.
heavier. I mean, in the end, you pleaded guilty. First of all, why did you plead guilty?
My solicitor told me to.
Right.
And I've never been into trouble before, and I was really concerned about.
You had no
woman.
criminal record.
No.
Poor woman.
Because the malicious communications offences, which is under which you were prosecuted, such as sending grossly offensive messages, can receive a hate crime sentence uplift if motivated by hostility towards a protected characteristic like race, religion, sexual orientation, or disability.
Unless you're white and Christian.
So you got an uplifted sentence. They basically said you had committed a hate crime by using that F word, which, given that you had no intent to be homophobic with it, for the reasons you've outlined, just seems preposterous.
Of course it is.
In a private text message to somebody
I didn't even say it to the person.
who you
in
were
question.
angry with because you had been assaulted.
Right. Yeah.
Has anything happened about the assault?
When I was in the hospital, the police were called by the doctors and nurses, and everyone in question were arrested at that given point.
Okay.
Then I ended up getting arrested a week after that.
Everyone arrested.
No one ever came back to me to discuss that. No one wanted statements from me. They were just obviously more. It seemed like they
So
were
there's
more
been no
concerned.
prosecution.
No.
Oh my God.
So the fact you were assaulted was deemed to be less serious, it would appear,
run away from the UK at this point. I'm sorry, I gotta say it. If you don't say anything about this, the only people that I can respect are people that can be more thorough and they go into the depth and they're like, no, this is a false statement. Actually, she never actually ended up in jail. She only got like a whatever provisional, be careful type of situation. Now we are eyes on you. Or maybe, but he had to pay like a massive fine of money and he ended up in 20 years in prison. Then these are the people that I would respect, okay? They come and show us other facts. But if this is all confirmed and you say nothing, you're a coward.
And the fact you'd use this F word in communication, private communication with this woman you'd had a falling out with.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
What do you feel about that?
Very, very disheartened and upset. It's destroyed my character as a person. I've been a care assistant since I was 17 and I want to be a nurse. I like helping people. I want to save people's lives. I have got a good character as obviously I'm still
Incredible.
working in my post now. My managers haven't let me go for the reason being they know me as a person.
They
and
stood by you.
everyone's got my back in this
Yeah, what
whole
reaction
thing.
have you had from the community?
Everyone's had me back and everyone's been so supportive. I mean, I've not heard one bad word said about this whole, that everyone's just as disgusted as I am. How far it's got.
That's not justice. There's nothing just about the justice system right now that does something like this.
I didn't even know it could be a crime
Neither did
to, in a
I.
private message,
Neither did I.
use language like that.
Neither did I.
What do you think it says about free speech in this country?
Well, it's not as heavy as it is in America, but I believe that.
You don't have it.
Actually, it's better in America.
Yeah.
This would never have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Their First Amendment.
Let's go.
protects your
God bless America.
right to be offensive if you want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not, it's one thing if you came in and said, yeah, I said all these things and I stand by it and I wanted to be homophobic. That's one thing.
Of course.
But you clearly, you had you were
And even
angry
then.
because of what had happened to you. You were in a hospital getting treatment for injuries sustained in what you say was an attack.
Unbelievable.
I don't know, obviously, about that side of it, but I'll take your word for it. And then you have 11 police officers charging into your home as you're having a bath.
It was very, very frightening. I've had nightmares and everything about it, and I've got cameras on my house and stuff. I keep them on and make sure the doors are always locked now because it's.
You should always do that, by the way. Don't wait until something happens. Always lock the doors, do the rounds at night, make sure everything is locked. Do have cameras if you can afford them, and all the rest that you can do legally.
It's not even the public that anyone needs to be scared of these days. It's the police.
Did you think you might go to prison for this?
Yeah,
Did they warn you might?
yeah.
Really?
Unbelievable.
5 to 10 years.
That's what they said you may get?
Yeah,
Because that's the maximum sentence you could have got.
for hate crime.
Again, I mean, what were you feeling when you heard that?
I was devastated.
You've got kids.
I was devastated.
Your 4 kids you have?
Yes.
How old are they?
15, 12, 9, and 3.
He's doing a fantastic service, by the way. You can disagree with Piers, whatever you want, but he's doing a fantastic service by broadcasting this and giving her a voice. Can we recognize that?
It would have been devastating.
It was, and it still is now, to be honest.
Right. I mean, you end up, you're pretty guilty. You got a sentence to a 12-month community order with requirements. You undertook 72 hours of unpaid work and 10 rehabilitation activity days, and you were ordered to pay £364 in costs, about $500. So you didn't go to prison in the end, which must have been a great relief.
Yeah.
Of course.
When you look back on the whole thing, though, what do you feel about it?
But it's control. Like basically what they're saying now, you have to mind everything you say or you will end up in prison. And America is the fascist country now?
I feel upset. The fact that I feel like I'm scared to even. I'm even scared to say the word now. That's why I'm saying the word in question because
Of
I
course.
don't
Tucker
know.
Carlson's point, and the reason he kept saying it, I've known Tucker a long time, he wasn't saying it to be homophobic. He was saying it to make the point that he was in England and he didn't care about whether somebody was going to arrest him. He was suggesting that I didn't want to say it because I was fearful of arrest. That wasn't the case. I don't like using that word full stop
Neither do I.
because gay friends of
fine.
mine say it's offensive to them, even though many of them use it. But it's the same argument as the N word for black people, right? They use it amongst themselves to reclaim that word as
Yeah, it's kind of weird though. And am I allowed to use the Italian slur words then? Can I do that?
they put it, and I understand that argument. But if a white person uses it at them, it's obviously a disgusting, racist slur.
I agree, but then why don't we apply the same logic when a black person uses white slur against white people? I will die on the hill of equality of treatment.
And I think we all know that, right? What's extraordinary about this is I was talking to my team. None of us realized that using this particular word that got you into so much trouble in a text message could ever lead to a potential prison sentence in this country.
Neither did I. It was shocking. And I'm still shocked now, if I'm honest. But obviously, I just believe that we all need to be careful with.
Well, do we? So that's an interesting question.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Do we need to be careful, or do we need to
stand up,
fight back a bit?
Fight back.
This? Is it right that you're sitting here too scared of saying that word, even in the context of talking about what happened to you, and not as a slur? You know, we live in a free democratic society.
No, you don't.
You should be able to say it in the context of what happened to you.
Absolutely, is 100% right, which is why you don't. But she's not going to be the one. She's got kids. She's got the power of the government against her. It needs to be everyone else. It needs to be the patriots standing up.
Without fear of arrest, it seems to me. And yet I understand why you don't want to, because you were told you might go to prison for 5 to 10 years.
Not just that, obviously, it's not in my character. I did that after the assault, when I had a brain injury.
And of course she's saying this because the lawyers told her to say that. I do believe her, though, that it's because she was upset, but now she's adding the brain injury because that was what the lawyer said. We gotta say this or you're gone.
Like, you don't act like yourself, you act out of character when you've had an injury to
What did your gay friends say about this?
I've had some beautiful messages from one of my managers as well, saying that they know I am not homophobic.
Obviously, gay people don't care. It's the government. They are using it as a way to control. Gay people don't care.
100%. I am the most kindest, loveliest person, and to not take any notice about what's been said about me, and that everyone knows, and they've all got my back.
I got your back.
They're all on my side.
I'm on your side.
Did any of the police feel uncomfortable about this when they were?
No.
Of course
Nobody's even asked me, am I okay after the attack? Nobody.
So no one's followed up on the
No.
attack at all?
No.
I just find that extraordinary.
So do I. Especially in the courtroom when I got charged, and the judges, nobody. The judges could see the pictures, the messages that I sent with the injuries, which were quite bad. And still, I wasn't asked, was I okay?
Absolutely extraordinary. Elizabeth, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
I'm very sorry about what happened to you.
Sorry.
Not at least because you're just being very honest. You said, you had 5 minutes of rage because of what had happened to you. You lost your mind a bit, used some intemperate language. You clearly regret it. You wish you hadn't done it. But to go through all that in England,
absurd.
in 2025 seems to me absolutely outrageous.
And people are scared to say it. You will see English content creators will never make a video like I'm doing now. They won't react to this. They'll do this. They'll pretend it's not happening because they're all scared. Well, not all, but I'm saying the ones that don't.
I wish you luck with everything.
Thank you.
And with
Thanks
your
very
career.
much.
Wish you luck. Wish you luck.
Thank you.
She should open a
For more
crowdfunding.
on the other F word, joining me on the panel, our host of The Crucible, Andrew Wilson.
Let's go.
Author of Bisexual The Basics and host of the Bisexual Brunch podcast. Lewis Oakley, host of Bet News. Mark Lamont Hill, and the author and chief political writer at Spiked, Brendan O'Neill. Well, welcome to all of you. Brendan O'Neill, let me start with you. I just did this extraordinary interview with Elizabeth Kinney, which I know you guys have all listened to. What did you make of that? I mean, I could barely believe what I was hearing.
I think it's obscene. I mean, if what Elizabeth's saying is true, and I have no reason to doubt that it is, it sounds like a real double wrong has been done here. Firstly, there is the fact that someone was arrested for saying a word. That should never happen, in my view, whatever word they use, even if they use it in public. But then secondly, she was arrested for using a word in a private communication. That is an outrage, completely and utterly obscene. That really does take us into the territory of thought policing. If the state can pry on our private conversations, drag us into the dock for things that we say to friends or frenemies or enemies, whoever it might be, that really does take us into Orwellian territory where the government has the right to snoop on what we say to fellow citizens. I think that is outrageous.
Thank you.
Lewis Oakley, I mean, to start with, As a gay man, did you get offended?
Bisexual.
My apologies. As a bisexual man, are you offended by the F word?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely got connotations there that are offensive. I mean, it's used to demean people and say that, gay people are, subhuman, disgusting, less manly. And that's what's inferred by it. So when it's used as abuse for young kids, like young 15-year-olds that are being called this in the playground, yes, it holds meaning. It, leads to mental health issues. It leads to people...
I'm waiting for the but, because if he doesn't put a but in this case...
that there is something
wrong. But if
wrong
it's
with
not
them.
being used as a homophobic slur, in other words, it's not being targeted at a gay person, and her explanation was that where she lives in the north of England. Well, no,
the heck is this guy laughing? Oh, so I already know then. I'm giving him still a chance to finish what he was saying. Okay, this guy I already know him. I can't stand him. He's an absolute imbecile. I know Andrew's based, and this guy first time I hear him, but. He's making a lot of sense.
Mark, I'll come to you. You might laugh, but I know there are parts of England where they would definitely not consider this to be a homophobic slur. They would just do it as a bit of, as they would see it, quite harmless banter. Now, we can argue about that, but it's different to say the N-word over here, which everyone would have a clear idea about. I don't think...
He still shakes his head.
...that this F-word is seen in quite the same context. Hence why she used it here, but not in a way that could be remotely construed as homophobic, which then begs the question, why has she been prosecuted for a hate crime?
Right.
Prompting hate at gay people.
Can I just say, I think that it's almost worse that he was straight, because what she's doing, she's really angry in the moment, I totally get it, and she's thinking, how can I insult this man that has done this terrible thing to me? And by the way, I hope he gets convicted too.
Good.
How can I demean him?
It should be, I hope he gets convicted, full stop. Not two, because two implies that she also should get convicted.
I know, I'll call him gay, because gay is so lower, gay is so anti-masculine, exactly. And that's the whole point.
Doesn't matter.
That was the word so there's 1,000 other words she could have used to describe it.
But she says she's not homophobic.
Unbelievable.
And wasn't saying it as a gay slur.
Okay, but so what's that? You want to say that people that use the N-word to describe people aren't racist? It's just their banter between their friends?
Well, no, because I think there is a qualitative difference in severity of these words.
And they don't even say she shouldn't have used it in its awful word, but she shouldn't go to prison for it. They're not saying it. That's what they want. That's what they like.
I mean,
so
Mark,
race is more important than sexuality.
Well, it's an interesting, arguable point. I mean, Mark,
and he's offended.
I would
Clown.
never use personally that F word. I would certainly never use
offended.
the N-word privately or in public.
Does her cracked skull offend you? Does an unjust 10-year sentence offend you? Does the police entering, since you're all about sexuality, what about men inside the private bathroom of a woman? He doesn't care. Tolerant.
Probably is a qualitative difference between the two, I would say. Most people might think that. Certainly in England, I can imagine a lot of people using it, playgrounds and stuff, and not intending it to be a homophobic slur, not even knowing it is. So it's not as clear-cut as you might think it is. But regardless, as Brendan said, regardless of whether you think it is or isn't, the idea that you communicate that word in a private conversation to someone via text message who you know, and the next thing, 11 police officers are charging into your house to arrest you.
Do you have a problem with
Can't
that?
be right, surely.
You're right. Would you have a problem with that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So you raised 2 points. The first one, where I disagreed with you, wasn't whether or not people saw it as a homophobic slur. My point is something can be a homophobic slur or a racist slur or an anti-Semitic slur or whatever, even if a person doesn't realize that that's what they're doing. In the United States, I've spent a lot of time in locker rooms as an athlete. I spent a lot of times in fraternity houses. I spent a lot of time just in my neighborhood. And that word was used a lot. And it was often used not against gay people, although it certainly was used against gay people. It was also used against ostensibly straight people, as my colleague just said, for the purpose of demeaning, for joking. Sometimes it wasn't even an intense joke. Sometimes it wasn't outrage. It was just it was used ostensibly in a playful way. But the idea is, if the best way to mock you or to tease you or to make you seem less like a man in a society where being a man is the height of humanity is to call you gay,
but
then
you'd never be arrested. But hang on, you'd never be arrested in America.
Thank you. Bring up the
for
point.
using that word, because the First Amendment would protect you.
So
you could be offensive in America in that way without actually treading into criminal activity, because the
What you
First
gonna say?
Amendment is there to protect that very thing, actually.
Yeah.
It really protects all speech,
No,
including hate speech.
Yeah.
So that's the second piece of it, right? I just wanted to address the idea of whether it's homophobic speech or not. But even if it's hate speech, let's say it rises to the level of hate speech, regardless, I don't think that the surveillance state should be overseeing us to decide when and where we're making the hate speech, even though I deplore hate speech.
Okay,
And then I
cool.
also don't think the carceral state should be criminalizing or intensifying criminal penalties for using it.
Good
so
stuff.
yeah, it's awful
Okay.
to do. You shouldn't do it. But I could be the worst piece of human garbage on earth for using a word or a slur. It doesn't mean that I should get arrested for it. I think there's
So he's better than him, or at least he's being honest. And believe it or not, I'm kind of like that. I don't use that vocabulary because I'm classy like that. With that being said, as he's saying, what's important here is not doing the nonsense that this guy said and being offended in the first 13 seconds, clown. But it's what he's saying, which is, yeah, okay, we could say it's deplorable. We could say, man, you shouldn't say that. Fine. But not get arrested. This is the way to... Does he think he's getting people to be like, you know what, this guy's... I had an opinion, but now he changed my mind. No,
other ways to resolve that.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson, it was very
Let's go.
interesting when Tucker jumped me with this, because I wasn't aware of the case. So I was doing Tucker's show. We had a 90-minute chat about all sorts of things. The main premise of his conversation was that my country's gone for the dogs. I was defending it vigorously in some parts and agreeing with him in other parts, as I would America, by the way. Good and bad, but two great countries. However, when he went on this rant about this, it took me by surprise. I didn't not say this F word because I thought I might be arrested. I wasn't aware of the story. I went and did some research, and I discovered somebody had actually been arrested in my country for using that word in a text message.
Yeah.
Having, she says, being beaten up by a guy, having treatment in hospital, and texting somebody that she believed had been partly responsible for her getting the beating. And that beating has not been properly investigated. So I don't know enough about that part of it to determine how clear-cut that all was. But regardless, the idea that she could use that word in a text message, and the next thing, 11 police are banging on, not even banging in, they're coming in, and she's having a bath, naked. Absolutely extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
December is Heart Awareness Month, which makes you think differently about busy holidays. Heaven, order today.
Well, it's actually, I'm not even surprised. So the idea here is, I guess you could get SA'd, and if you call your assailant the, quote, F slur, you go to jail, right? Some country you got there. By the way, let's point this out, that progressives have for years, as these guys say, hey, we don't want to put in hate speech laws and have people arrested and this and that. They've been doing the same type of stuff for years. They do depersoning, debanking, deplatforming, keeping people away from their cash. If you touch on any issues that they don't like, they've been doing that for years to conservatives. So they're doing the exact same thing that the government over there is doing. They're just using the private marketplace to do it. So what they do is they will go on these massive campaigns to deperson a human being from society because they have wrongthink, or they say a word that makes somebody else upsetty spaghetti, right? That's what they do. And the fact of the matter is like, who gives a shit? Who cares if this woman didn't care? Who cares if she was like, you know what, I am homophobic, and I said it because I'm homophobic. That's her business, right? You can say what you want.
He's right.
You're supposed to, at least in free nations, and that's not what you have there. And that was Tucker Carlson's point. You don't have a free nation there. You have a nation which is under a dictator.
Out of interest, Andrew, would you use that word?
Sure, you use it all the time. It's one of the best ways to describe friends. Right?
Would you use it? Would you use it on a show like this?
It's not meant to be. Look, it's not meant to be. Can I say it?
Would you say it? I mean, would you normally use a word
well,
like that?
I wouldn't say it for the purposes of TOS, but I mean, if I was allowed to, sure, it's one of my favorite words to say. There's nothing wrong with the word. What happens is this. This word is not even being used as a homophobic slur, and it hasn't since I was a kid, okay? That's the truth. People call each other this all the time for literally for fun.
Why is he shaking his head? It's true. People do use it.
just because it's fun. You'll go, you like run into a buddy of yours. What's up, F slur? Right? You don't care, and you give each other a high
I don't think
five,
that's true,
right?
though.
It's fun. It is true. Look,
no,
listen,
I think if you ask gay people, they will tell you it is often used in a derogatory way and offensive way intended to demean them, and it's done all the time. I don't think we can dispute that.
But you know what? Everything, you can use any word as derogatory if you want to, or you can use words and they're not derogatory. It depends on the context. We're social creatures. I'm tired of people acting like socially everybody's retarded. We know that there's context for words, and when you say in proper context this word to buddies and people in this, whatever, it's not a problem socially, and it never has been. And Mark might shake his head, but I bet you in high school he was calling half of his friends that word, and they were probably calling it to him back. Why? Because it's funny. That's why it's funny. And
were you Mark Lamont Hill?
So here's, was I? No, but
you've never used any derogatory term at school?
Yeah, come on,
anyone?
Shut it.
As a joke?
You're asking a different question now. Then okay,
well,
now you're asking
generally
a different question. His question was that. Again, the answer to the first question is no, I didn't use the F word in high school as he alleged. Second question is, have I ever used an offensive term? Absolutely. When I was a child, but as an adult, I like to think that I've grown beyond using the words that I used as a child.
Which is, by the way, fine. We're not discussing private decision of words. Like, it's not like everyone needs to sanitize or everyone needs to use the vocabulary. If you don't want to, it's fine. But if you do want to, you shouldn't go to jail for it. It's really that simple, but they just have to pivot because they cannot fight against this because it's a powerful argument.
And I agree that social context matters.
Okay.
And I agree that we should always consider social context. We live in a society where gay people are still abused, where gay people are still slandered, where gay people are still physically assaulted, where gay people are marginalized. And that F word is used very often to do, and it's often accompanied by harm. And so
so let's focus on the people that are on these situations rather than now if you dare to say this word in any context, 10 years in jail. And the guy who cracked your skull, no. Focus on the actual stuff that is done against gay people. But that's not what they do because there's not enough power. They want full control, not only control over those specific scenarios.
We know that. I agree. When you walk up to your friend and give him a high five and use that word, you may not be attempting to smuggle in homophobia. I don't think you are. But what I'm saying is we're normalizing a word that still accompanies harm and still kind of normalizes what we do and how we treat as a society, LGBTQI folk. And so I'm just saying.
How about the way we treat Christians and white people? They never fight for that because it's never about equality of treatment. It's about oppressors and oppressed.
Okay.
Why don't we pick a different word that doesn't cause all this hullabaloo?
All right, the bigger issue...
The problem is like, because they're not as fun. And the reason is, the more that you try to make these pushbacks, these social pushbacks, and tell people what they can and can't say, it makes them want to say it more. Yeah, and you know what, Mark?
True.
Like, that's what happens. The second you start making social pushback and say, hey, this word you've been calling your friends, and you guys have been joking around for years saying this stuff, you're not allowed to say it anymore because now somebody's going to get too upset about it. It literally gives them incentive to say it more. Yeah. That's what happens. That's how social context actually works.
But that's not what I'm saying.
If you guys wouldn't make a big deal out of it, if you guys wouldn't make, hang on, Mark, almost done. If you guys wouldn't make a big deal out of it, we wouldn't have a big deal, right? But you guys make the big deal out of it.
All right, let me bring in Brendan because.
So I'm not...
Well, hang on, Mark. I'll come back to you. The bigger issue, it seems to me, here with the UK is that the Times newspaper recently revealed.
I would have let him respond to that, but fine.
That police officers are making 12,000 arrests a year under Section 127 of the Communications Act and Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act. In other words, similar instances to this. That's 30 arrests a day over offensive posts on social media and other platforms. Thousands of people being detained and questioned for sending messages.
You're okay with that, buddy?
That, quote, cause annoyance, inconvenience, or anxiety to others via the internet, telephone, or mail. There's been a 58% increase.
Man, you should arrest all of my haters at this point. You're gonna arrest, like, I don't know, 100,000 people by now. Because they caused anxiety to me. Not anymore because I laugh, but they did back in the day. Let's arrest them all. Let's go. Let's crack them down.
These arrests since before the pandemic. This is completely nuts to me. Joe Rogan said they've already arrested 12,000 people for social media posts. We got a clip of him talking about this.
This is
They've
incredible.
already arrested 12,000 people for social media posts.
That's insane.
Above and beyond every other
Shameful.
country. Way
Shameful.
above Russia. Russia was like 400 last year. The UK is 12,000. Any criticism of immigration, any criticism of grooming gangs and people being raped, any talk about how horrible this is, they come visit you. It's like someone's trying to destroy England.
Yeah,
Now, I would say, Brendan, that's probably a mischaracterization.
I would say control, not destroy, but still.
If you actually went over the 12,000 cases, you
Okay.
could probably see a lot of very offensive things in there. I don't know, but I'm surmising it's not just criticizing an immigration policy that's causing the arrest.
Okay.
But in a country that's supposed to be one of the leaders of free speech historically in the world,
Yeah,
this is pretty terrifying.
It
isn't
is.
It's just Kafka stuff.
yeah.
It's awful. It's like the Stasi. Older listeners and viewers will remember the German Democratic Republic, and they had the Stasi that would literally listen in on private conversations, that would literally rent out the apartment above the apartment of some dodgy person and listen through the floor to make sure they weren't saying problematic things. We now have a similar system in the UK.
Much
People are
more
being
powerful.
arrested and in some cases punished for things they say. And it's now December, so any minute now we are going to see the annual controversy about the Pogues' great song "Fairy Tale of New York," which has the famous lyric, "You scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lousy beep."
Yeah.
We're not allowed to say it apparently, but that is a great song. That word is often bleeped out, and this is another issue about these insulting words. I actually think what's most insulting to gay people, ethnic minority people, all sorts of minority groups, what's most insulting is actually censorship, because censorship infantilizes.
That's how it should be, yes. Anyhow, this is getting really, really long. So I think if you want to continue seeing what they actually said on the panel, maybe you want to give a chance to the guy in the middle, or we want to hear more about what Andrew Wilson has to say, do click the link in the description, the pinned comment, to go watch the rest of the episode. But for today, I was actually more interested in the interview proper and to figuring out if this is real. It seems like it did happen. And it is unbelievable to me that some people will still refuse to condemn such an authoritarian state intervention against freedom of speech and figure out ways to say, yeah, but the language. Unbelievable. Anyways, I think most of us who are normal will agree the state should have never done this. And the physical assault is 1,000,000 times worse than the mean word that she said in retaliation. I would have given her nothing. She did nothing wrong. That's what I say. Double down, triple down. Thank you for watching.